The spectators loved her because they didn't understand her. Behind reinforced plasma bars, the Viraki mother, whom the zookeepers called Subject Cora, lay coiled protectively around her two cubs. Towering, furred, and with glacier blue eyes, she looked like a beast bred for war. But the eyes gave her away. They weren't feral, they were grieving. She'd been captured in the Deroxian sweep, one of thousands rounded up by the Corporate Ecological Reserve Initiative, SERI for short. The press called it a marvel of preservation. It was a prison. Every day, beings from across the galaxy passed by her enclosure. They gawked at her armored hide, roared at her in mockery, and snapped holopics of her cubs as they huddled close. Some even threw food. A few laughed when she refused to eat it. Zookeeper Tharks, a Gentari with translucent skin and little compassion, jabbed a neural prod at her when she didn't perform. When she growled, he shocked her. When she snarled, they increased the sedation gas. What no one knew, what the corporation didn't bother to understand, was that Viraki mothers bond mentally with their offspring. The sedation they used on her was also slowing her cubs' development. One had already stopped moving as much. Cora's heart thundered with a mother's panic. And then, one day, a human walked in. He wasn't a scientist or a tourist. He wore no badges, no guide pass, and no visible ID. He was tall, dark-skinned, and broad-shouldered, with a mechanic's toolkit slung over his back and a strangely calm energy about him. "Maintenance check," he said casually to Tharks. "Got a system ping about life support fluctuations in Sector 9. We didn't log anything," Tharks said, eyes narrowing. "Then it's probably a hardware error." "Want me to ignore it?" The human smiled. "You know how it ends when humans ignore system pings." Tharks grunted. "Make it quick." The human walked up to the enclosure. Cora stiffened, her body coiling tighter around her cubs. He didn't flinch. He just knelt, looked her in the eyes. Then, in a whisper only she could hear, he said, "You don't belong in a cage." Cora blinked. Her breathing stilled. The cubs stirred faintly, and for the first time since she was chained, she didn't feel alone. His name was Elijah Marr, former Marine, current system tech, and an off-the-books ally of the Sapient Rights Underground. He didn't come to the zoo to fix a glitch. He came because a smuggled message had reached a rebel listening post. It showed footage of Cora's cubs wheezing under heavy sedation. It showed a mother who couldn't roar anymore. That was all it took. He scanned the enclosure's subsystem. Internal force field, laser grid, neural dampener, bioelectric feedback suppressor. Every control screamed cruelty cloaked in containment. Seri claimed it was all for safety. Elijah saw a prison designed by cowards. Back at his bunk, he studied the zoo's layout. Enclosure controls were hardwired to a central node buried beneath the admin wing. Getting there would require a bypass through 3 levels of biometric locks and one distracted Tharks. He spent a week pretending to be a lazy tech, showed up late, played dumb, fumbled tools. Then, during a late shift, he casually jammed a tiny pulse emitter into the back panel of the main server rack, a tiny chirp. Then silence. Inside her cage, Cora stirred. A low hum in the walls faded. The sedation gas stopped. The cubs breathed easier. Elijah watched from a distance. He timed how quickly the cameras caught it. They didn't. The zoo's automated failsafes had a 30-second lag before alerting admin. He could work with that. The next night, Elijah returned with an override key, cloned from Tharks' office, while the slug-headed alien was in the restroom. He walked the hallway with calm confidence, overriding gates like they were practice drills. But as he approached Cora's enclosure again, something felt off. She was awake, not just breathing, not just conscious, but watching, waiting. Their eyes met again. In that moment, Elijah knew this wasn't just a rescue. It was a jailbreak, and Cora was done being a zoo exhibit. Elijah tapped the override panel beside the enclosure. He glanced at the silent alarm indicator. 30 seconds before the entire zoo system rebooted. "All right, Mama," he muttered. "Let's blow the hinges." He hit the switch. The energy field around the enclosure flickered, sputtered, then collapsed. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. Then Cora surged forward, not in rage, not in fear, but with purpose. The chains clamped to her limbs glowed red as the tension sensors activated. She ignored them. One mighty pull. Snap. The left shackle tore free. 2 more snaps. Metal screamed. Her claws scraped the ground, and her eyes locked on her cubs. She nudged them gently, urgently. They moved, dazed but alive. "Elijah to exfil," he whispered into his wristband. "Cargo's mobile, initiating red path." The underground rebels had prepared for this. A decoy fire alarm, power grid surge, and a stealth hoverlift parked in the loading bay. But Seri wasn't stupid. Alarms blared, turrets dropped from the ceiling. Intruder in Sector 9. Animal escape in progress. "Go, go, go!" Elijah yelled. Cora bolted, her cubs tucked beneath her belly, her hulking form barreling down the corridor. Turrets fired tranquilizers. She took 1, 2, but kept running. Elijah ran beside her, ducking shots, hacking doors. As they moved, ahead, rebel drones burst through the roof, dropping smoke pods and magnetic disruptors. "Viraki combat mothers don't stop until their young are safe," a rebel voice crackled in Elijah's ear. "You sure about this?" "Dead sure," Elijah replied. "This mother would have broken out without me. I'm just lighting the path." Together, man and beast stormed through the last checkpoint and into open air. The sky above was chaos. Patrol drones circled, sirens screamed. Rebel support craft fired decoy flares, scrambling the zoo's sensor arrays. Cora and her cubs burst into the hoverlift's cargo bay. Elijah followed, slamming the hatch. "Go!" he barked. Engines roared. They lifted into the clouds. Inside, Cora crouched protectively over her cubs, her breath heavy, her muscles twitching. But there was no more sedation gas, no prods, no laughter, just freedom. Elijah leaned against the ice wall, catching his breath. "You're free now," he said softly. "No more cages." Cora's eyes met his. She moved forward, slowly, cautiously, until her forehead touched his chest. A gesture of thanks. The rebels broadcast the escape footage system-wide within hours. The image of a chained alien mother, sedated and mocked. For sport, lit a firestorm across dozens of worlds. Sierra called it propaganda. Most didn't buy it. Protests erupted. Donors withdrew. Lawsuits piled up. More importantly, the sapient rights underground gained momentum. Zoos were no longer just tourist traps. They were battlegrounds, and in every rally, every chant, one phrase kept returning. There's no cage strong enough to hold a mother's will. And somewhere on a lush, hidden world reclaimed by her kind, Cora taught her cubs to run free and, maybe, just maybe, to trust a human should one ever come again.